Episode 152 of the podcast. This week we're talking about how to discuss behavior with our customers. How do I start off with a new customer? How do I describe my safety policy, behavior expectations, and how do I address some of their issues? You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. This week, I want to talk about how we talk to customers and how we get customers on board. And I'm going to start off with what I do with my own customers. We're going to use an imaginary customer. Let's say that this customer has just moved into the area, and that's the reason why they're looking for a new groomer. It's a good premise. It happens a lot. So they aren't searching for another groomer because another groomer has said, hey, I don't want to do him anymore, just that they've moved to a new area. Now, I am going to assume that any dog that I meet has some sort of fears or behavior issues around grooming. That is going to be my assumption, because it makes better sense for us to plan ahead and then find out that this dog is a rock star. So assume that a dog has a behavior problem. Start off with that assumption that there's going to be something that maybe is unfamiliar. Even though they may have been groomed by somebody else for a long time, your system, your equipment, something could be different that they could find scary. So let's assume that we are going to find some sort of behavior problem. And now we're going to plan ahead and we're going to be proactive. So first step, I'm going to get a history. I'm going to ask this owner, how is he for grooming? Now, the kind of answers I get, a lot of owners will say something to the effect of, well, the last groomer never said anything. Don't know. I assume he's okay. And that's actually a pretty common answer. And that could be because this dog really truly is a rock star. So keep in mind, maybe that's because this dog is great. Or it could be that this last groomer didn't really talk about behavior problems with owners, because I see that a lot. I see that way too often. And that's why I have this podcast out. It's because groomers should be learning more about behavior and learning that there are solutions to behavior problems instead of just grooming past them. So we're going to ask, how is he for grooming? And get a history. Anything that they know, we kind of want to write that down, be thinking about it as part of planning and prepping. Now, the next thing I do is I start talking to them about my safety policy, the way that I conduct business, and the way that I'm going to proceed if I see a behavior problem. So it changes around. I have a couple versions out there for you guys. This is not a contract. What this is a conversation starter, and it's a heads up as to how I'm going to proceed and how they're going to be charged. So here we go. My grooming safety policy for my house call customers. To provide the highest level of care for your pet, I have a safety policy. If at any time your pet gets nervous, anxious, scared, aggressive, or even overly silly, I will slow down and help your pet be comfortable and calm. It's very important to me that the pets in my care are kept safe and stress-free. I use sharp tools and need to prevent injuries. I will work with your pet to help them feel comfortable. This will build a great experience for successful groomings for your pet's lifetime. Your pet may not be groomed to perfection today. I am committed to the safety and well-being of your pet. I will charge you for my time. So this brings up a lot of discussion points for owners. So we asked them to sign the safety policy. In my case, I'm house call. This is something that gets texted to them and they sign it. So that later on, the expectations are met. If they're like, well, I expected this to be done and you didn't finish it and I was buying a haircut, we've already discussed exactly how I'm going to handle things. So that is my safety policy and I explain it to the owners. Now, questions are going to come up. So he may not be finished. And that's one of the things that we have to be able to talk to someone about. I'm trying to teach your dog to be good for this, for their lifetime. So your dog might not be groomed to perfection today. And I know that you want him to look good. And let's talk about what your priorities are. What's the most important thing to you today in grooming, in case he cannot handle some piece of our grooming process. Sometimes people say, well, especially around the eyes, or I need his nails to be as short as possible. We know how people are about the nails. What's your dog coming in for grooming today? Oh, he needs his nails done. Yes, we know nails are always important. But we need to talk to them and say, if your dog is really worried about nails, the nails may not be completed today because I'm working toward teaching your dog to be good for grooming. This is part of my safety policy, and even nail trimmers can hurt a dog. There are lots of ways for dogs to get hurt. Another thing that people will say, whoa, sharp tools? I even had my vet be really kind of surprised when I mentioned sharp tools. But what about safety equipment? Everybody take a deep breath. Non-groomers don't know this. Safety equipment doesn't trim hair. If it's sharp enough to trim hair, it can hurt a dog. Clippers can hurt a dog. Yep, really, really close blade can hurt a dog. A regular clipper blade could catch the edge of an ear, could catch the edge of an armpit, could catch the edge of a rectum. There are lots of ways for dogs to get hurt. It's not just big sharp shears. Lots and lots of things can get a dog hurt, including trying to flip around and pull away from us is a way that a lot of dogs get hurt. So we've mentioned that animals could be hurt if they're flailing around, if they're worried, if they're overly silly, if they're aggressive. So we are trying to keep them safe. And by framing it out as a safety policy instead of a behavior policy, owners are far more likely to say, oh, okay, that seems very reasonable. Whereas if you say, this is my behavior policy, and if I have problems with behavior, this is how I proceed, they're going to be a little standoffish about it. Because let's face it, nobody wants to hear that their dog is a behavior problem. But if we say, this is my safety policy, and this is how behavior relates to safety, now we have an owner who is willing to listen. And the ones who aren't willing to listen, who are like, I don't care how many people you throw on him, and if it hurts him, just get his nails done as short as possible. Who cares if they bleed? I don't care. That's not your customer. Send them home. They can do that at home. It takes no finesse to pin a dog down and make all his nails bleed. That's not what professionals do. I know that's super opinionated, but if they don't care about their dog's safety, if they don't care about their dog's well-being, try your best, but at the end of the day, they can go someplace else. So we are talking about safety, and behavior is part of safety, and behavior can be changed. We call it dog training. So when we're talking to our owners about safety, they start understanding that this is important. We want their dog safe. So now we're also going to ask our 4 questions. I know in the past I put it out as 3 questions, and I've added a 4th. So I don't remember which episode number it was, but you can go back and find it. But I'm going to ask owners these 4 questions because this helps owners understand what our issues really are. So question number 1, what does your dog do if he or she doesn't like something? I'm not asking them what does he like and what doesn't he like. I'm asking what does he do? Because owners know that. They will have observed what their dog does when he doesn't like something. If a sudden sound is something that the dog was nervous about, does your dog go and hide? Does your dog attack the vacuum cleaner? What does your dog do? And then question number 2, what does your dog do if he doesn't like something you are doing to him, to his body? What does your dog do? And a lot of owners will say things like, oh, well, he puts teeth on me when he wants me to stop brushing him. Yeah, that's a big red flag. We need to know that. Or they'll say, well, he growls a little bit, but he would never bite me. Or he tries to run away, so, I stop when he gets scared. There's an awful lot of owners out there who will stop when their dog gets scared. So question number 3. What does your dog do when you don't stop? And a lot of our owners don't have an answer. So this is why this is part of the conversation we need to have with our owners. I have this conversation before I show up at their house. Because I'm house call, there's a lot more gatekeeping for a house call appointment. Before I go to their house, I want to know the answers to these kind of things. So when we talk about what does your dog do if you don't stop, many, many times an owner says, what? Well, I always stop. I mean, we have it out and I tell him no, how bad he is, and then we walk away. But a lot of the time, they really don't know what their dog would do if they didn't stop. if that putting teeth on their skin is going to turn into an actual bite. They don't know because they've always stopped. And this is really important not only for us to know, but for them to start thinking about. Because the question number 4, because I had to become far more aggressive about it, what do you think your dog will do when I don't stop? So now we've asked, what does your dog do if he doesn't like something? What does your dog do if he doesn't like something you're doing on him? What does your dog do if you don't stop that thing? And what do you think your dog will do when I, as a stranger, don't stop? And that's where a lot of owners really start to get the idea like, oh yeah, I don't think he's going to be good with that. I don't think his is going to be okay. What was that safety policy again? And that's why asking those questions is really important. Now, I want you to be in the headspace that you would be in if a customer came in saying, I don't want him shaved, and they have a dog who is matted. We have to be able to educate our customers and stick to our guns. Okay, so it's the same kind of conversation that you're going to have when you can't make them happy for some other reason. Listen, this isn't in the best interest of your pet today. So I want you to think about some of these conversations that we have with our owners, and that this is to help them. And in the next part, I'm going to give you some examples of conversations and how they can kind of go sideways and how we can bring it back. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. So here is a common rebuttal from owners when we start talking about safety policies and behavior issues. Here's a pretty common one. Well, my last groomer always blah, 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 blah. Right? My last groomer, they always said he was really bad for nails, but they always got it done. And I want you to own the fact that you care about behavior, to own it, to not put up with how somebody else does it, to really take charge and say, I want to help your dog be good. And if we're not working toward teaching your dog that this is safe and that they can be comfortable with this, then we're actually forcing scared dogs and making it worse. And I know that's really opinionated, but I'm going to go there anyway. That's actually the wrong way to do it. If we're constantly forcing them while they're scared, we are making it worse. And as a professional, I choose to not do that. So think about how we're telling people we need to work toward teaching your dog that this is safe. This is important. They're going to need it for their entire lifetime. They're going to be having nail trimming done for 15 years. This is important. And part of the assumption I think people make is that a dog is just like this. Oh, he's just not good for nails, as if it's something we can't change. Yet we do know that for many, 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 many dogs, did I say many? I mean even more than many, many, many dogs can learn that this is okay, can learn to be safe. A healthy dog can be taught to be a safe dog. So we can actually change their mind about how they feel about nail trimming, but not if we force them through things that they think are scary. So behavior problems crop up because the dog is actually trying to express to you, please leave me alone, please stop doing that thing, I am not comfortable with this. And we can teach them to be comfortable with it. And that, I think, is going to be really key for safety and help this dog, this particular dog. So it's one of the things I hear a lot of, owners saying, well, my last groomer always got it done. And maybe they did. And maybe the dog wasn't worried with the last groomer. Dogs can be really literal. And, well, the last groomer held my paw in a particular way, and maybe I haven't figured out which particular way this dog likes it yet. But I do business differently. I am a professional, and this is how I choose to do business. I will not spend time forcing dogs through things that they think are scary over and over and over again with no hope in sight. That's not how I do business. And you guys can own that. Own it. It's okay. I also do not do beautiful trims on matted dogs. I'm not going to trim over mats. For the same reason. I'm a professional. I'm not going to trim over mats. I'm not going to give you the haircut you want with mats underneath. There are other times when we own it, when we say, no, this is not how we do business here. and give options. But we need to educate our customers. Tell our customers, hey, we can work on this. We can work on this. It's the same kind of conversation we have when we say, let me show you how we can keep him brushed out. Let's talk about trim styles that we might grow him into that could be easier for you to take care of. I'm here to help you take care of your dog because that's part of our job. We're here to help take care of their dog. Now, here is another one. I'm going to be charged anyway. You hear that one too. So you're going to charge me even if he doesn't get a full haircut. And what we need to bring out in there is that you can't buy a haircut as if it's an item. It's a service. And your dog is not well prepared for our services. If your dog is really good for grooming and in good condition, I would happily give you the haircut that you're asking for. However, I still get paid for my time. So if your dog takes extra time because of a behavior issue or any other issue, you will, of course, be charged for my time. And we don't need to be mean about it. We just need to bring forth the idea that you're not buying an item. You're not buying an item. You are buying services. You are paying for my time to work with your dog. So if you don't want me to spend time working on a dog who has a behavior issue, you can go home and continue working on this behavior issue. Bring your dog in trained. I know, super opinionated again, huh? Wow, Chrissy, you're on a roll today with the opinions. But the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of things that owners can be doing on their own and that they can work toward. If they don't value our time working on their dog's issue, then they can do it themselves. Dog grooming is a luxury service. We don't have to groom their dog. And we can talk to them about, I would like your dog to be comfortable with this. And the other thing about all of this stuff, talking to owners, is when we get them on board and they see results, they're really grateful. They're like, I really didn't think that you could turn this around. A lot of people still think that they have to learn this as puppies and that like the window of opportunity is gone if it's an adult. And that's just not the case. We can teach older dogs to be good. Some of the dogs that I get are seniors. And the reason why they come to me is because now their dog is a senior, probably never liked grooming all along, and now has health problems and is not going to let somebody touch them. Now they have a health problem and they're like, I've never really liked it anyway, and I'm really scared and defensive and fragile. So if I can work with a senior with health problems, we can certainly work with the dogs who are normal, everyday, average, middle-aged dogs and teach them to be good for this. So the more we talk to our owners about how this is good for them, and there are a couple of ways we can describe that. So one of the things I will tell owners is when your dog has learned that this is safe, then they're a breeze to groom. They are not getting stressed out when they come into grooming or when I show up at their house for house call or when a grooming van comes to the home. If we can get them past that, this is not going to be a stress point for them. How wonderful is that? Your dog is going to have a prettier trim because frankly, dogs that are good for grooming are going to be easier to trim. We can do our best work on a dog who's comfortable. The dogs that I have taught to be better for grooming tend to be much better when they go to their vet visits. The things that we do in grooming are far more complicated than most of the stuff they do at the vet's office. So the vet's office is actually a little bit easier for dogs, except for blood drawing and injections. But range of motion and being touched all over, yeah, if we can teach them to be good for that in grooming, that translates to their vet too. How awesome! And it'll be easier for owners to take care of their pets. Let's say your pet needs you to put eye ointment in. If we can teach him that being around his eyes isn't a big deal, then we can work toward this dog being good for their owners too. So we need to tell our owners this is for them. And then there are some other side benefits that are really helpful for owners to understand. And you may not want to bring these up, I don't know, but I tell owners, when your dog is good for grooming, when your dog is comfortable with it and has become the dog who is really steady and awesome and a joy to groom, you are far more likely to be the owner of the dog that someone will make adjustments for. Like, yeah, we can fit him in. Maybe we can't fit everybody in, but for this dog, yeah, we can totally fit him in today because you know what? We know exactly what to expect from this dog. This dog is a rock star for grooming. We've worked extensively with this dog. This owner is awesome, and we can fit this dog in today. You get a different level of service, whether you mean to or not, because we get this chance to have a dog who is really wonderful for grooming. And that's what we're really looking for. It's not about dogs that don't have behavior problems as much as it's dogs who are calm, comfortable, and cooperative, who enjoy the grooming process, who are safe to groom, that we can do our best work on, that everybody is nice and safe. This is how some of this stuff all comes together. And if you're new to the podcast, all of these things are discussed in various episodes over time. I've been doing this for 3 years now, so there are a lot of episodes. But those are some pretty common customer talking points that I think are really important for us. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.